Welcome to the syllabus presentation for Classical Chinese Philosophy, Philosophy 360R. This class is held Tuesdays and Thursdays, 1:15 to 2:30 p.m. in JFSB 4082. Here we see a classical Chinese philosopher sitting at his table, writing his philosophy out by brush. And here next to him, we have the symbol for our class, the Syll script character for philosophy or wisdom. You will see this character on each of the following screens and throughout the video presentations. Here is our symbol again. And here is a little bit about your instructor. His name is Gordy Maurer. That's him at home doing Chinese calligraphy. His office is JFSB 4083. His office hours are Tuesdays and Thursdays, 12 to 1 p.m. or by appointment. His office phone is 801-422-6514. You can reach him by email through Learning Suite. He has a website under the BYU Philosophy Department directory and also an e-folio available on Google Sites. There is a separate whiteboard presentation available that tells you more about the instructor. Let's talk about the course. This course surveys the principal philosophies of the classical period of ancient China. It focuses primarily on the philosophy of the Zhou dynasty, 1121 to 221 BCE. It will also attend to some pre-Zhou content. And there will be a unit on post-Zhou Chinese Buddhism. The main period of time we will be looking at runs from the spring and autumn period of the Zhou dynasty, that's the spring and autumn annals there, through the end of the Warring States period and into the Qin dynasty, roughly 550 to 221 BCE. Our main emphasis will be on the 7 principal philosophical voices of the period: Kongzi, or Confucius, Mozi, Mengzi, or Mencius, Laozi, Zhuangzi, Xunzi, and Hanfeizi. We will also briefly delve into Yin-Yang philosophy and Chinese Buddhist philosophy. The philosophies of all these thinkers have been rich and enduring and continue to be influential on East Asian thought. We will be primarily interested in normative dimensions of human nature, ethics, politics, moral psychology, and self-cultivation, but we will also, of necessity, give consideration to metaphysics and epistemology. No previous knowledge of Chinese language or history is necessary. We will see almost immediately, however, that references to classical Chinese history and literature are infuriatingly frequent. Classical Chinese philosophy is as full of obscure literary and historical allusions as Hegel, and that puts any student who doesn't know the allusions at a disadvantage. We will then, of necessity, spend some time examining classical Chinese history, literature, and culture. We will also, over the course of the semester, make some reference to the written expression of the ideas being investigated for the benefit and pleasure of those who have heard the alluring siren call of Chinese characters. The parenthetical reference to traditional characters in our texts is so frequent that some comment seems, occasionally at least, to be in order. The works that we will be looking at are written in classical or literary Chinese script. It is charming and beautiful, but it is a formidable barrier to those who would like to continue studying Chinese philosophy. The meanings of the classical characters have very often changed or were even lost until modern etymological investigations. There are appendices in both of our texts dealing with Chinese characters. In the RCCP, there is an appendix of important Chinese terms. In the introduction, there is a very helpful appendix about the Chinese language and writing system. This class is taught as a philosophy class with the rigors of that discipline as developed in the analytic tradition. The background and methods may be somewhat unfamiliar to students taking the course. We will spend some time learning to apply the methods of analytic philosophy to classical Chinese texts. It is important that we develop these skills. To facilitate encountering thought that may, on a first glance, appear utterly alien, we will attempt to find grounds of commensurability with Western forms of thought. Thus, we will examine Kongzi in connection with Aristotle's virtue ethics and civic theory. Mozi in comparison with the utilitarianism of Jeremy Bentham and J.S. Mill, and in contrast to the divine command theory pointed to in Plato's Euthyphro. Mengzi, together with theories of moral sentiment from Human Smith, the Taoists in association with classical skepticism. Xunzi with Hobbes, and Hanfeiza with the political realism of the Machiavelli of the Prince. Course texts. Here is what the primary texts originally looked like. brush stroked on bamboo strips. We have two texts for this class. One is a collection of primary source readings. The other is a new introductory secondary reading. Readings in Classical Chinese Philosophy, RCCP, second edition, edited by Philip J. Ivanhoe and Brian W. Van Norden, Hackett Publishing Company. And Introduction to Classical Chinese Philosophy, Brian W. Van Norden, Hackett Publishing Company. A few other readings for paper assignments will be available on Learning Suite. Learning. For this course, we will do all of the following learning activities. One, we will do out-of-class readings. 2, we will watch out-of-class video files of lecture materials for the class. 3, we will have an in-class video components. 4, we will have in-class lecture and instruction components. 5, we will have in-class analysis and discussions of readings. 6, we will do in-class group assignments. 7, we will do in-class quizzes on out-of-class reading and lecture materials. 8, we will write a series of papers. 9, we will meet in person with the instructor in his office for one-on-one evaluation of the term paper. 10, we will do periodic in-class note card assignments, so you will need to buy a pack of 3x5 note cards. 11, during group assignments, we will meet in class with the instructor for one-on-one instruction. 12, we will take a final exam. And '13, we will have a class party. Here is a breakdown of what these learning activities are supposed to do. As with almost all other classes, most of the learning of the content for this class will take place outside of class. 1 and 2 support that out-of-class digestion of the material. 3 through 7 and 10 through 11 are intended to help students better understand the materials they have learned on their own outside of class. Additional learning takes place with out-of-class assignments and activities. This is supported by 8 through 9 and 12 through 13. 9, 11, and 13 are also learning activities for the instructor. These give him a chance to learn enough about the student so that he can write a strong letter of recommendation for each of the members of the class. For this course, the class time will mainly consist of learning activities. In class, we will take quizzes, engage in discussions, note card activities, group activities, learning activities geared to the writing assignments, and one-on-one time with the instructor. There will be video presentations to watch outside of class. Some will be Camtasia presentations, and some will be whiteboard presentations. There will also, of course, be text readings to be done outside of class. Each student will be expected to watch the video presentations and do the readings prior to the class period in which they will be discussed. It should be noted that there will not be an opportunity to make up missed in-class activities, assignments, and quizzes. Students tend to be very interested in the component of grading. The grade for this class will be based on the following activities and weights. 1. Quizzes will be worth 10%. 2. In-class activities will be worth 10%. 3. The first short paper will also be worth 10%. 4. A medium-length paper will be worth 20%. 5. Rough draft meeting with the instructor will be worth 10%. 6. The term paper will be worth 20%. And 7. The final exam will be also worth 20%. For a total of 100%. Letter grades will be determined according to the following percentages. 93% to 100% is an A, 90 to 92% is an A minus, 87 to 89 a B plus, 83 to 86 a B, 80 to 82% a B minus, 77 to 79 C plus, 73 to 76 a C, 70 to 72 C minus, 67 to 69% D plus, 63 to 66 D, 60 to 62 D minus, and below 60% an E. I calculate your grade in the class by taking the letter grade you received on an assignment and translating that into the numerical equivalent in accord with the following table. An A is 4, A minus 3.7, B plus 3.4, B 3, B minus 2.7, C plus 2.4, C 2, C minus 1.7, D plus 1.4, D 1, D minus 0.7, and E 0. I take the numerical equivalent of a grade that you receive on an assignment and I multiply it by the percentage weighted value of the assignment. Then I sum these values up for all the assignments. This gives me a number between 0 and 4. This number then is correlated back to a letter grade, and that is your grade for the course. Let me talk a little bit about the schedule. I will not go over the full schedule here, but I want to call your attention to how it works. Here is the schedule for the first 2 weeks of the semester. You will notice that it has 4 columns, a column for the date, for the topic, for assignments, and for readings. The readings column includes both readings and video presentations. So you can see that our second class meeting takes place on September 1st. On that day, the topic is Chinese philosophy in general. There's a writing assignment that goes out that day, and by scanning down the assignments column, you can see that it is due the following Thursday, that is, September 8th. Also for September 1st, there are 2 Camtasia videos to be watched and 1 article to be read out of class. These videos and readings listed for September 1st should be completed before September 1st. September 1st will be the day that we are discussing these in class. We will also possibly have a quiz on them in class. So remember that the readings for any particular class date should be finished prior to that date. These days, it is necessary as part of the syllabus presentation to include compliance requirements. There are some official statements that must be included in syllabi. First, the Honor Code statement. In keeping with the principles of the BYU Honor Code, students are expected to be honest in all their academic work. Academic honesty means most fundamentally that any work you present as your own must in fact be your own work and not that of another. Violations of this principle may result in a failing grade in the course and additional disciplinary action by the university. Students are also expected to adhere to the dress and grooming standards. Adherence demonstrates respect for yourself and others and ensures an effective learning and working environment. It is the university's expectation and my own expectation in class that each student will abide by all Honor Code standards. Please call the Honor Code office at 422-2847 if you have questions about these standards. Statement on preventing sexual discrimination and harassment. Title IX of the Education Amendments of 1972 prohibits sex discrimination against any participant in an educational program or activity that receives federal funds. The act is intended to eliminate sex discrimination in education and pertains to admissions, academic and athletic programs, and university-sponsored activities. Title IX also prohibits sexual harassment of students by university employees, other students, and visitors to campus. If you encounter sexual harassment or gender-based discrimination, please talk to your professor. Contact the Equal Employment Office at 801-422-5895 or 1-888-238-1062 24 hours, or http://www.ethicspoint.com, or contact the Honor Code office at 801-422-2847. Accessibility issues statement. Brigham Young University is committed to providing a working and learning atmosphere that reasonably accommodates qualified persons with accessibility issues. If you have an accessibility issue that may impair your ability to complete this course successfully, please contact the University Accessibility Center in 1520 WSC 422-2767. Reasonable academic accommodations are reviewed for all students who have qualified documented disabilities. Services are coordinated with the student and instructor by the UAC office. If you need assistance or if you feel you have been unlawfully discriminated against, you may seek resolution through established grievance policy and procedures. You should contact the Equal Employment Office at 422-5895 D282 ASB. Learning outcomes. The last area that we have to cover is a matter of professional assessment. National accreditors insist that every course be assessed in terms of what students are expected to learn in that course. The course's learning outcomes, that is, the aims of what students will learn in the course, are determined by the department. Those course learning outcomes are related to the more general learning goals that the department has, and those department goals are in turn related to the learning goals that BYU has. With this kind of a program of assessment, students, parents, academic leaders, and others can be assured that each individual course meets the goals of the university. So here are the designated learning outcomes for our course. C1, figures and topics. Understand a major figure, text, or problem in Chinese philosophy. C2, critical reading and writing. Practice philosophical analysis and argument orally and in writing. Write a cogent, well-researched paper on Chinese philosophy. And here are the philosophy department learning outcomes that these course outcomes are linked to. D1, history and value of philosophy. Know the history of philosophy and its contributions to world culture. D2, philosophical figures, topics, and issues. Demonstrate knowledge of important philosophical figures, topics, and issues. D3, critical and effective reading, writing, and conversing. Read and discuss critically philosophical texts, issues, problems, and questions. Write clear, coherent, logically sound, and cogent essays. Master informal logic and apply it to critical reading and thinking tasks. Master university-level written and oral communication skills. Course Learning Outcomes C1 is linked to Department Learning Outcomes D1 and D2. Course Learning Outcome C2 is linked to Department Learning Outcome D3. The end. Postscript. The first quiz will be on this syllabus.